The planet Zarian burned under the light of twin suns, casting long shadows over jagged mountains and scorched plains. From orbit, it looked like a world abandoned by mercy. Empress Kalara stood in her throne room, a tall figure draped in black and gold. Her eyes, sharp and calculating, scanned the holographic map of her empire. Her face was pale, but the anger simmering beneath it was enough to ignite a star. "Where is he?" she demanded. Her voice echoed across the marble hall. Around her, generals and advisors shifted uneasily. Kalara's empire was vast, stretching across countless star systems, and yet one human had dared to defy her. His name was Alex Mercer, a soldier from a distant world called Earth. One man who had outsmarted entire fleets had become her nightmare. "He is still at large, Empress," General Theros replied, his voice steady but cautious. "Our trackers show him moving through the northern sectors. He avoids every patrol. It is as if he disappears into the shadows." Kalara's lips curled in a thin smile. "Then I want him found, alive if possible. And I want my army to send a message. No one disrespects Kalara and lives to tell it." Theros bowed. "It will be done. The entire 7th Legion is ready for deployment, and the elite hunting squads are on standby." Outside, in the cold darkness of space, hundreds of ships stirred to life. They were sleek and deadly, bristling with weapons designed to annihilate anything in their path. On the ground, mechanized troops and cybernetically enhanced soldiers readied themselves for the hunt. Every scanner, every drone, every ship was focused on a single target: Alex Mercer. Meanwhile, on a distant asteroid near the edge of Kalara's territory, Alex moved silently through the abandoned corridors of a derelict station. His eyes, sharp and alert, scanned the area for any sign of danger. He had been tracking the Empress's fleet for days, knowing they would try to anticipate his moves. Humans were unpredictable, and he intended to use that to his advantage. Alex paused in front of a console, his fingers dancing over the controls. He brought up a live feed of the planet below, the very world where Kalara ruled with an iron fist. "They're mobilizing everything," he muttered to himself. "All of it. And they think it will be enough." A small smile appeared on his face. He had survived impossible odds before. Entire fleets had tried to hunt him down, yet here he was, still moving, still alive. The advantage was not in numbers, it was in thought, and humans had a strange talent for thinking differently. Back on Zarion, Kalara's army advanced. Across deserts and frozen mountains, thousands of soldiers moved in formation. Drones scanned the terrain, firing pulses that detected even the faintest life signs. The planet shook with the sound of engines and footsteps, a symphony of fear designed to crush any resistance. Yet Alex did not fear them. He used the terrain to his advantage, disappearing into canyons, slipping past patrols, and leaving false trails behind. Every move he made seemed calculated, yet effortless. He knew the army would expect him to react in one way, so he did the opposite. By the time Kalara's scouts realized he had moved again, he was already gone. Hours turned into days, and still the human evaded capture. The army grew frustrated. Generals argued over tactics, blaming each other for failures that were not their own. The soldiers whispered stories of the human who could not be caught, a man who seemed to anticipate their every move. Even the strongest and most loyal among them began to doubt. Kalara watched all of this unfold from her throne room, her sharp mind analyzing every report. Yet even she, a master of strategy, could not predict where Alex would strike next. That was the difference. He did not follow patterns, he created them. He did not fight to conquer. He fought to survive and to challenge those who believed themselves invincible. And then, without warning, he appeared. No alarms, no signal, just a quiet presence in the throne room. Kalara looked up from the map, her eyes widening. There, standing at the foot of her throne, was Alex Mercer. Calm, unarmed, a human in the center of her empire, where none should have been able to go. "Captain Mercer," she said, her voice steady but edged with surprise. "You are far from home. How did you—" Alex smiled faintly. "I came to speak," not to fight, though I imagine your army will not agree. Kalara's guards moved instinctively, reaching for their weapons, but Alex raised a hand. Do not. You will see soon enough that I am not here to destroy, only to show you something important. Your army hunts shadows, but you ignore what is right in front of you. A murmur ran through the room. The guards hesitated, unsure of how to respond to this human who had appeared as if by magic. Kalara's sharp mind raced, calculating the impossible. How had he bypassed every layer of security? Every patrol? Every sensor? The answer did not matter yet. What mattered was that he was here, in her throne room. Alex stepped closer, his eyes meeting Kalara's. I have no desire to take your throne, Empress, but your methods, they will fail. Fear is not a shield strong enough to hold an empire. I am here to show you that humans survive where others cannot, because we think, adapt, and act where others hesitate. Kalara studied him carefully. She saw no weapons, no soldiers, no trickery visible. Yet the confidence in him was unshakable. Her generals outside could not even dream of entering this room, and here he was, alone, calm, and defiant. For a moment, the two simply stared at each other, ruler and human, predator and prey, yet neither moving. The twin suns outside cast streaks of golden light through the hall, illuminating both figures in a quiet tension. Then Kalara's voice broke the silence. You are bold, human. Too bold, perhaps, but I do not dismiss courage when I see it. You have my attention, Alex Mercer. That is rare. Most would have perished long before reaching this place. Alex inclined his head slightly. I do not seek attention, Empress. I seek understanding, and perhaps, in seeing how humans face the impossible, you might see a new way to lead your empire, without destroying everything around you. Kalara leaned back in her throne, intrigued despite herself. She had sent thousands to hunt him, yet here he stood, unafraid. Her army was still moving, tearing across her world, and yet one human had outwitted them all. Perhaps, she thought, this was a lesson she needed to learn. Outside, the army continued the hunt, unaware that their quarry had already reached the heart of the empire. The human who could not be caught had done what no one expected. And inside the throne room, a quiet understanding began to form between a human who could survive anything and an empress who ruled by fear, a meeting that would change the fate of a galaxy. The throne room was silent except for the soft hum of the holographic maps and the distant vibrations of Kalara's army moving across the planet. Empress Kalara studied Alex Mercer carefully. Her sharp mind, trained for decades in strategy and war, tried to anticipate his next move. But the human remained calm, his posture relaxed and his gaze steady. Outside, the army continued its relentless hunt. Thousands of soldiers combed deserts, mountains, and frozen plains, scanning every crevice for the slightest sign of him. Drones buzzed overhead, their sensors sweeping the land. Ships patrolled the skies in coordinated patterns. Generals communicated constantly, sending updates, recalculating strategies, and growing more frustrated by the hour. Yet inside the throne room, Alex had already anticipated their movements. He was not just a soldier. He was a strategist, a thinker, and his mind worked differently from anyone Kalara had ever faced. He had studied the Empress's empire for weeks, memorized every patrol route, every shift change, every weak point in the defense systems. You have many soldiers, he said calmly, and yet you rely on them to do what I can do with thought. You see patterns, but humans can create chaos where none is expected. That is what you cannot control. Kalara leaned forward, resting her chin on her hand. Bold words for someone standing in the center of my empire. Most would have been captured or killed before reaching this room. How do you survive? Alex smiled faintly. By expecting the unexpected. By moving where others do not look. By using what is available, not what is forbidden. Humans adapt. We survive. Kalara's eyes narrowed. She had faced countless threats in her lifetime. Rebels, rival empires, assassins, and alien warlords. Yet there was something different about this human. He did not fight with overwhelming force. He did not threaten her directly. He challenged her with his mind. And that was far more dangerous than any army. At that moment, alarms blared outside. The generals' voices were heard over the intercom. "Empress, the human is gone from the northern sector. He bypassed all patrols." Kalara's lips curved in a thin smile. "I see. My army hunts shadows while the prey walks among us." Alex watched her reaction carefully. He had not come here to destroy her. He had come to prove a point, to show that humans could survive impossible odds and force even the strongest rulers to rethink their strategies. "Why show me this?" Kalara asked. Her voice was measured but tinged with curiosity. "Why not simply leave as others do?" Alex paused. "Because you need to see that strength is not only in armies or weapons. It is in thought, in courage, and in the ability to act when others hesitate. Your soldiers are strong, but they follow orders without thinking. Humans think differently. We act unpredictably. That is why I am here." Kalara studied him for a long moment. Her guards shifted uneasily, unsure of what to do. They had never seen a human move so confidently in the heart of the Empire. Many generals outside would have sacrificed entire units to achieve what he had done. Yet he had done it alone, without firing a single shot. Outside, the army's frustration grew. Generals argued over tactics, accusing each other of mistakes even though none could predict Alex's movements. Drones were deployed, scanners recalibrated, and fleets repositioned. Every attempt to corner him failed. Every plan was anticipated and countered. Inside the throne room, Alex continued. "Your empire is built on fear, Empress. Fear of rebellion, fear of outsiders, fear of what cannot be controlled. But fear can only hold for so long. Humans thrive in what others fear. We survive the impossible, and that is what you cannot anticipate." Kalara's eyes glimmered with a mixture of frustration and fascination. She had faced countless threats, yet none had taught her as much in such a short time. Most adversaries were destroyed or captured. This human, however, was teaching her lessons she could not ignore. "You speak as though you are invincible," she said softly. "Yet you are only one man. Even if you outsmart my army today, tomorrow they will come again. Thousands, tens of thousands, stronger than you. How long can you survive?" Alex's gaze did not waver. "As long as I need to, because I do not act like your soldiers. I do not wait for orders. I do not follow patterns. Humans survive because we adapt. You cannot predict adaptation." Kalara's mind raced. She had expected resistance, a fight, perhaps even death. But she had not expected this. The human standing before her had turned her own expectations into tools for his survival. She realized that her army, her fleets, her thousands of soldiers, they were irrelevant here. One human, using strategy and thought, had reached the heart of her empire. "Your confidence is remarkable," she said finally. "Yet it may also be your downfall. Many humans overestimate their own cleverness. They underestimate the patience and strength of an empire." Alex inclined his head slightly. "Perhaps. Or perhaps humans are underestimated, because no empire has truly studied us. You will see, Empress, that survival is not always about strength. Sometimes it is about thinking, moving, and adapting faster than those who believe themselves uncatchable." The air between them was tense, thick with unspoken challenge. Kalara's guards were silent, uncertain how to react. Outside, the army roared across the planet, oblivious to the fact that the very person they hunted was in the center of power, studying them as much as they studied him. Minutes passed like hours. Kalara's mind worked furiously, analyzing, questioning, and calculating. She had faced many threats, yet this was new. Not a war, not a fleet, not even an assassin, but a single human whose intelligence, adaptability, and calm defiance challenged everything she believed about control. Then Alex spoke again, his voice steady. "Your generals will continue to hunt me, Empress. They will fail because they follow patterns. I do not. They see threats where none exist and miss the danger that stands before them. That is the difference between a human and an army. That is why I am here in your throne room, unafraid." Kalara's eyes narrowed. A part of her admired his courage. Another part was furious at his audacity. Yet she could not deny the truth in his words. Her armies, vast and powerful, were being outmaneuvered by one human who used nothing but thought and strategy. Finally, she spoke, her voice quiet but firm. "You have my attention, Alex Mercer. Few have dared to do what you have done. Many would have been destroyed long before reaching this room. You have proven yourself clever, human. I will not ignore that," Alex nodded. "That is all I ask, Empress. Look, understand, and learn. Humanity survives where others fail, not because we are stronger, but because we think differently. That is what you cannot predict. For a long moment, the two simply stood there, ruler and human, predator and prey, yet neither moving. Outside, the sounds of the hunt continued, but inside, a new understanding began to form. The human who could not be caught had proven that survival was not measured in numbers or weapons, but in courage, intelligence, and adaptability. Kalara's lips curved in a small smile, the first in many days. Perhaps this human was not just a threat. Perhaps he was a lesson she needed, and that lesson, she realized, might change everything. The throne room was quiet, but the tension inside was electric. Outside, Kalara's army raged across the planet, searching every corner, scanning every canyon, and sending fleets across the skies. They did not know that the human they hunted had already reached the heart of the empire. Empress Kalara stood tall in her throne, her black and gold robes gleaming under the twin suns' light. Alex Mercer remained calm, his eyes steady, his posture relaxed. He was unarmed, yet there was a quiet authority in his presence that could not be ignored. "You have caused chaos in my empire," Kalara said, her voice sharp but tinged with curiosity. "You have outwitted my armies, bypassed my fleets, and reached my throne room alone. Tell me, human, why do you not fear me?" Alex tilted his head slightly. Fear is not always useful. It slows thinking. Humans survive because we act, even when we are afraid. I am here because I want you to see that there is another way to lead without destroying everything in your path. Kalara studied him carefully. Many rulers would have tried to capture or kill him by now. Her generals outside would have done it if given the chance. Yet this human, calm and composed, stood before her without aggression. She felt a strange mixture of respect and irritation. "Your confidence is remarkable," she said. "But do you truly understand what you are facing? My army is vast. My fleets are unmatched. You cannot stop them, and they will not stop until you are captured or destroyed." Alex smiled faintly. "I do not need to stop them. I only need to show you what humans can do. You rely on strength, numbers, and fear. I rely on thought, adaptability, and unpredictability. That is the difference." Kalara leaned back, her fingers resting on the armrests of her throne. She had spent years commanding empires, training her armies, and crushing rebellions. Yet this one human had turned all her expectations upside down. He had forced her to see that intelligence and courage could rival even the greatest military power. Suddenly, alarms blared across the throne room. Her generals' voices rang over the intercom, frantic and confused. "Empress, the human, he is, gone from all sensors. None of our trackers can find him."
"He cannot be caught."
Kalara's lips curved in a small, almost amused smile. "He is exactly where I expected him to be," she murmured. Her eyes met Alex's, and she realized the truth. The human had anticipated her every move, even those of her army. He was not reckless. He was precise, strategic, brilliant. "You have taught me something today," she said, her voice softer now, though still commanding. "Humans are dangerous not because of strength, but because of thought. You move where others cannot, act when others hesitate, and survive when others fail. That is rare, human, that is impressive." Alex inclined his head. "That is all I ask, Empress. Observe, understand, and consider. Humanity survives where others cannot, not because we are strongest, but because we think differently. That is what you cannot predict." Kalara studied him, her mind racing. She realized that continuing to treat him as an enemy would be wasteful. The human had proven his skill, intelligence, and courage. Perhaps it was time to acknowledge his abilities rather than destroy him. "Your generals and armies will continue to hunt shadows," she said. "But here, in my throne room, you have proven yourself unmatched. That alone is remarkable. You have done what no other could." Alex nodded. "Then consider this, Empress. Strength is important, yes, but fear can only hold for so long. Respect, understanding, and intelligence, these endure longer than fleets or armies. Humans survive because we think beyond force. You may rule many worlds, but one human can teach you more than an entire army." Kalara's eyes glimmered. She had faced countless threats, yet this was different. Not a fleet, not a rebellion, not an assassin, but a single human who had reached her heart of power, not through destruction, but through intelligence and courage. The alarms outside continued, but Kalara paid them no mind. She realized something important. Her army, though vast, could not replace understanding. She could crush this human physically if she chose, but he had already won. He had proven the truth she could not deny. "Very well," she said finally, her voice steady. "I will not order your capture, Alex Mercer. You have shown that humans are more than their numbers, more than their weapons, more than what we assume. You have survived against impossible odds, and you have my attention. That is rare indeed." Alex allowed himself a small smile. "That is all I hoped for, Empress. A chance to show you the human way, to prove that courage, adaptability, and thought can match even the greatest force." Kalara leaned back, contemplating. The human had arrived, challenged her expectations, and changed her perspective, all without a single shot fired. Outside, her army still searched, unaware that their prey had already reached the center of power. "Perhaps there is a lesson here," Kalara said softly, more to herself than to Alex. "One human alone can achieve what entire fleets cannot. Perhaps the future of an empire is not in fear or force alone, but in understanding what cannot be controlled, and adapting to it." Alex nodded, sensing the shift in her tone. "Exactly, Empress. Strength alone cannot survive everything, but thought, courage, and adaptability, they endure." Humans endure. The tension in the throne room slowly eased. Kailara's guards relaxed slightly, unsure how to respond, yet unwilling to challenge the human who had achieved what none could. The twin suns cast golden light across the hall, illuminating both figures in a quiet, tense peace. Kalara studied him for a long moment. "You may leave, Alex Mercer," she said. "You have done what many could not. My armies will not harm you for now. But remember this, the lessons you have taught me are rare. Few humans could have survived, let alone reached me. You have my respect." Alex inclined his head, acknowledging her words. "Thank you, Empress. That is all I ask. Observe, understand, and adapt. That is what humans do best." He turned, moving calmly toward the exit. Kalara watched him go, realizing that his presence had already changed her empire. The human who could not be caught had proven that courage, intelligence, and adaptability could challenge even the mightiest ruler. Outside, the army continued to sweep the planet, searching endlessly for a human they could not find. Inside, Kalara stood alone in her throne room, contemplating what had just occurred. One human had reached her heart of power, changed her understanding of strength, and left without a single shot fired. And in that moment, she knew something undeniable. Humanity was a force to be respected. One human, using thought, courage, and adaptability, could stand against empires. And that was a truth even the greatest empress could not ignore. The twin suns set, casting long shadows across the throne room. The hunt had ended, not with a battle but with a lesson. And the galaxy, Kalara realized, would never be the same.